Hello, I'm Sena Bestercan. In this paper, we present an experimental study using Dragonize, a four-player full-body mixed reality experience. We assess whether embedding synchrony into interaction mechanics influences prosocial behavior in children. Interpersonal synchrony refers to the temporal coordination of movements between individuals. It occurs when people align their actions in time. For example, when we walk together, when we clap in rhythm, or when we move in coordinated patterns. A growing body of research has shown that moving in synchrony can increase affiliation, empathy, cooperation, helping, and social cohesion. These outcomes are core components of prosocial behavior. This suggests that coordinated movements may function as a mechanism for promoting positive social interaction. However, most of these existing studies have examined synchrony in highly controlled laboratory settings, often without using any technology, frequently relying on human facilitators, and primarily focusing on dyadic interaction. Our objective is, on the other hand, to address this gap by designing a four-player full-body interactive system that embeds synchrony directly into its mechanics and without the need for human facilitation. Dragonize is a two-part video game. In the first phase of the game, a dragon located at the center sends some colored stones toward the players. Each player must hit the stone, matching their color, to break the ice surface. In the synchronous condition, Dragon sends these stones at the same time for all the four players. In the asynchronous condition, on the other hand, each player is following a unique tempo. You can see that yellow is the fastest, while the red is the slowest. Importantly, the task goal and all the visuals remain identical across two conditions. The only manipulation we have is the temporal coordination, whether it is required or not. In the second phase, players complete two construction tasks, rebuilding a bridge and rebuilding a road. This phase serves as behavioral assessment of prosocial tendencies. Basically, we observe whether children engage individually or collaboratively with these virtual elements in the environment. Based on the design, our central research question is whether a technology-mediated synchronous experience can foster prosocial behavior in an interactive mixed reality video game setting. To address this question, we formulated two hypotheses. First, we hypothesized that children in the synchronous condition would show a greater increase in affiliation after the gameplay compared to those in the asynchronous condition. More specifically, we expect higher levels of perceived team belonging and peer liking. Second, we hypothesized that children in the synchronous condition would engage in more collaborative actions during the subsequent construction phase. In particular, we expect increased collaborative movement patterns and greater collaborative incorporation during the road and bridge building tasks. We conducted a controlled experimental study with 68 children organized into groups of 4. Before the gameplay, children completed a pre-affiliation questionnaire measuring baseline levels of team belonging and peer liking. Then they participated in the Dragonized experience according to their assigned condition. After gameplay, they completed a post-affiliation questionnaire to assess the possible changes in their perceived affiliation. Then they played the second part of the Dragonize. And finally, we collected a user experience questionnaire to evaluate their overall interaction experience. Our primary participant reported measure was affiliation, operationalized through two components, team belonging and peer liking. Children rated how much they felt part of a team and how much they liked the other children in the room using a 5-point Likert scale ranging from not at all to very much. In addition to participant-reported measures, we also collected activity-based behavioral measures during the gameplay. During the first phase, we recorded movement data to quantify synchrony between the players, and the results can be found in our primary publication because this paper is not the focus for this analysis. And in the second construction phase, we analyzed how children move the elements in the space, whether individually or collaboratively. And also we checked how they incorporated the virtual elements while building the road and bridge, either individually or collaboratively. Now let's see the results for both participant reports and activity measures. First, we examine changes in affiliation, including team belonging and peer liking, from pre to post gameplay. As shown in the figure, both conditions exhibited slight increase after the gameplay. However, we didn't observe any statistical significant difference in affiliation change. And this can be attributed to relatively high affiliation levels before the gameplay. Since children participated in groups composed of classmates, they likely entered this study with pre-existing social bonds. Therefore, we propose that future studies could examine also synchrony effects in groups of unfamiliar children where baseline affiliation can be lower and these potential changes may be more detectable. Therefore, revisiting our first hypothesis, we expected synchrony to increase both team belonging and peer liking. However, this hypothesis couldn't be supported with the result that we obtained. Now let's move on to the activity measures. First, we examined collaborative movement behaviors during the construction phase. As shown here, children in the asynchronous condition displayed slightly higher proportions of collaborative movement. However, this difference didn't reach statistical significance. However, a different pattern emerged when we examined incorporation behavior. Specifically, children in this asynchronous condition demonstrated statistically higher collaborative incorporation for both stone and log incorporations. And one possible explanation is that in the synchronous condition, children follow a stable distance and they progress all together at the same speed. In the asynchronous condition, on the other hand, there is a greater movement variability. For example, faster child can take over the slower one, and this might be creating more opportunities for spontaneous collaboration during the construction phase. Therefore, revisiting our second hypothesis, we expected that children in the synchronous condition would engage in more collaborative actions, both in terms of movement and also incorporation. However, this wasn't supported with the results that we obtained. In terms of contribution, this work moves beyond traditional synchronous studies that rely on non-technological setups, human facilitation, and dyadic interactions. We introduced a fully interactive 4-player mixed reality system, enabling controlled manipulation of synchrony without any external facilitators. Our takeaways from this study are, firstly, full body mixed reality play is highly engaging for children and it can be integrated into classroom context without negatively affecting existing peer relationships. And second, interpersonal synchrony alone didn't increase affiliation in already cohesive groups. Instead, task structure and interaction dynamics appear to play a more influential role in this case. Feature work can also examine unfamiliar or newly formed groups to determine whether this type of synchronous activities can foster new social bonds. Also, extending this framework to children on autism spectrum can help understanding how structured synchrony supports social engagement. And finally, we propose that broader prosocial behaviors such as helping or conflict resolution can be examined, because in our case we try to assess collaborative actions. However, maybe the task itself worked like a cooperative task. Maybe each child focused on their individual contribution to the global goal of constructing instead of showing collaborative actions. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. The references cited throughout the presentation are listed here. And if you would like to connect or discuss further this research, you can contact me via LinkedIn using the QR code here.